Scrolling and toxic behaviors are blocking your blessings. I really want you guys to understand all of the advice I provide you on this channel is not like a gimmick. It's things that genuinely worked for me. And for me, I'm a very lazy person, but also a very thoughtful person. And I think truly working through, as they say, the shadow work of things is what got me where I am. Someone just brought me a dessert, which is so nice. And recently I made my neighbor some soup. And I know these are just normal things, but I can't help but thinking, since I've deleted social medias, how much time and energy do we waste where we could truly be connecting with others? And we think we're connecting because we're on social media. But I miss out on having gratitude for my life, because when you're overstimulated, you're not going to show up as well for your life. I challenge you guys, especially as we approach this new year. I do this sometimes. I'll have a day where I'm like, I'm being my best self today, almost like it's a character. Like, how would they act? They would wake up early. They would go to the gym. They will eat healthy. They will take care of their skin. They're going to, regulate their emotions. As privileged people in a first world country, I can't help but think all of our problems are in our head, right? Of course, I think the average person could use a lot more money to deal with bills. Like, that's a big stress. But minus that, if you look at your life and you're healthy enough to talk and walk, that is instantly such a blessing. Leo Skepi said in his videos when he was a nurse, he saw a man who literally could not walk and would use all of this equipment to and he couldn't talk, he was totally paralyzed. He would use all this stuff to connect with the world around him. And it makes you realize how much we're honestly taking our blessings for granted. And I think there's a fine line between compassion for yourself. Like, I'm a very big believer, there are days where you brushed your teeth, you're a success. And I hate this mentality that you didn't do anything, because some of those days are the deepest discipline you could ever show. But I also think we get to a point where we've got to stop having a victim complex. The victim complex for us serves as a security blanket. I think so many of us are scared to be laughed at, and we don't believe in ourselves, right? We want to lose weight. We want to be millionaires. We want to get the dream partner, get the promotion, because we don't think highly of ourselves. So we think if we can reach these goals, they will give us that little bit of satisfaction where we go to bed at night and we can sleep with ourselves. When I got a job I wanted or graduated, I was like, yes, I am worth it, And now I know my worth. Of course, we all are worth it. That's not even a question. But my worth is more some days than others, depending on how I showed up for myself. You can have the job, the partner, the whatever, and know that you're not showing up your best. And this is where I really say tap into these woo-woo concepts like the manifestation, abundance, scarcity mindset, quantum leaping. I do not want to gatekeep these from anyone, but it's more a matter that I think it's so oversaturated with advice. It's very hard to get through to people and make it make sense. Like, it takes a lot of time. So that's why I just put it here on this channel. My goal is genuinely to help anyone, because I've had difficult times in my life where a podcast was so comforting. Like, there were nights I would feel so alone or so lost. And watching another human being say they have struggles, there are solutions, it can get better, was like what made me buy in to not giving up and not just doing things with the bare minimum effort. So, with dating, like, I think in the past, as do a lot of girls growing up, you're kind of told, oh, you need a good partner. But are you told that if you have high levels of stress and cortisol in that relationship, you're going to look uglier. You're going to feel worse. You're going to, what if you have unhealed limiting beliefs and it's going to cause you to be an anxious partner or an avoidant partner? So many of us are walking around. Everything we do is a reflection of some weird dynamic we want to fulfill. It's not what we truly want, right? I would love to get to a level of just absolute inner peace, but I think the closest I can get to that now at my stage of development mentally is doing activities that have a meaning and help me connect with my essence. When I would scroll, and I don't know what advice to give you besides change your mindset. I will be so honest and just do it. I think with like going to the gym, that was the first thing I did that was such a physical burst of energy, such a slap in the face that I can do hard things and that you can alchemize your pain into something that's going to serve you at the end of the day. And I think so many people walk around and say self-deprecating comments or they gossip, just these low vibrational activities, and they don't understand that you have a choice. When I used to go to workout classes when I was out of shape, I would come in like this, and I felt so embarrassed to dance in like a dance class. And it got to a point where you're more awkward. Have you ever been on a date? I mean, I don't know if you're the awkward person or you've gone on a date with an awkward person, but imagine you go out with someone who the whole time they're like, I'm sorry. They can't make eye contact. Their nervous system is not regulated. They have their shoulders like this. It's going to start to make you feel uncomfortable. It's going to start to make you feel self-conscious. But if I can regulate my nervous system and feel comfortable with myself, knowing that anywhere I go, I'm protected because I have me, like there's nothing to fear in a safe situation, you're going to make other people relax. It's going to help them regulate their nervous system. So this is how you can truly be magnetic. When I go into the gym now, I think the reason I've started to enjoy it is because I realized after staying consistent, there's also nothing to fear. I go in the weight room now, and my goal is that other women will feel safe when I'm in there versus the weird frat boys lifting weights. But I really, really think you've got to get to a point where you are unshakable. I think so many of us want to be humble. We have other goals. We don't want to be like, I'm winning at life. But I always tell my friends, you have to have a level of like, I must be the winner at my own life. Because if you don't, there is nothing regulating you from falling down this path of mediocrity. And the word mediocrity used to bother me because I used to think, I think I'm qualified to speak on these topics because I simultaneously am thoughtful, but I'm also lazy at times. And I struggle with things like being addicted to the phone like anyone does. And I think that, these motivational speakers say, mediocrity, like that's a thing we should really be afraid of. Like that makes me feel tense, like certain advice from people brings tension to me. And I've explained to my friends how, masculine energy, feminine energy, these things are often used to put people down. And I don't like that. For me, these things are something to keep in the back of my head and help me evaluate if somebody is helping me be my highest self. That's it. It's not a hierarchy of people and saying this person is bad and this person is good. It's evaluating, how do I feel around people? That's another thing I've been getting into lately. I ask myself, how does this make me feel? If somebody invites me on a date and they say, let's go on a date at 10 at night. If you're a people pleaser, if you have an anxious attachment style and you have a wound where you don't love yourself, and I'm going to start calling it that because so many people have anxious attachment styles. If you are susceptible to a situationship, you have an anxious attachment style. A person who loves himself is going to truly reach a point where they couldn't care less about a person that does not care for their well-being. And if someone were to tell me, let's go on a date, it's 10 p.m. tonight, I would be like, are you crazy? You know, if you've seen the show Euphoria, Maddie is a clear representation of this embodied feminine energy, this queen energy, where she would not accept that. She accepts the flowers, the nice dates, the surprises, you know, and she gets very angry when her boyfriend betrays her because she's regulated around him. You know, she doesn't have anything to prove. She's just genuinely mad. Wherein with Cassie, it epitomizes the anxious feminine, where she's waking up early and doing all these rituals. And the way they convey it is not out of love. It's not for herself. It's to look good for Nate. And I think so many of us don't achieve our goals. As I heard in this weird YouTube video, it was called, "You Don't Have Your Dream Life Because You're Fat." And the title definitely clickbaited me. I was like, what is this talking about? What does that mean? But in the video, she explained how a lot of people lack discipline and they can't get what they want because they're just not on this kind of momentum, right? I'm not sure if I agree with that title, but I think so many of us need a shift. And unfortunately for me, I could never do this of my own volition. So if you're watching this right now, please do it of your own volition. For me, it takes something like a terrible injury to start to understand these lessons, you know, or a conflict or a disappointment. But I really think that the key to getting what you want is not wanting it that bad, you know. I think to myself, for example, you know, and we've got to change the way we talk about ourselves. That is the whole way people perceive you. I have a lot to say on these topics, so please stick around. I will keep putting this content out there. And like I said, I'm just putting this out here. I think I'm really shifting away from doing all the techniques that would cause this channel to grow at a faster rate. I've got to be authentic with myself, and my hope is that these videos find someone who really needs it the way other people's content has found me and led me to even feel qualified to talk about these topics. Because before I felt like, oh, I'm lucky I've achieved some things, but it was kind of an accident, you know? And now I'm like, no, if I want something, if I can think of it, I can get it. And that is going to shift your entire self-efficacy. So I'm going to talk more upcoming about how you can not let anyone mess with you by first not letting you mess with you. Please stick around this new year. I have plenty more coming, and I really hope this advice is helpful. I just speak on things that work for me. I'm not sure if that's the best way to blow up, but I realize too, I don't want to be a gimmicky YouTube channel. There's so many channels I watch that say all this gimmicky stuff, and I try to provide actionable advice, but I think also the advice that worked for me, it took some studying. It took listening to those podcasts on a walk and listening to them while I washed the dishes and reprogramming my consciousness to expect better and know that that's an option. Because if I can think of it, I can focus on that and focus on doing the things that are going to get me closer to that versus just sitting down and digging a hole and dying in it.